The rain was relentless that night, hammering against the hood of my old Honda Civic like it was trying to warn me. At 50 years old, there I was, delivering pizza in a jacket that was barely protecting me from the December cold. My shift had been long, my hands numb from the steering wheel, and all I wanted was one thing: collect my $12 tip and move on. But that night, fate had other plans. Walter Drummond opened the door, and I froze. The man dropped to his knees in front of me, rain plastering his hair to his forehead, eyes wide and trembling. His hands shook as he reached toward me. "Dear God," he whispered, voice breaking like it had carried decades of grief. "You're Thomas Grant's son, aren't you?" I stepped back, confusion and concern battling in my chest. "Sir, are you okay? Should I call someone?" His eyes, wet with tears, bore into me. "Thomas Grant was your father. I know those eyes, that jawline. You look exactly like him when he was young. I've been searching for you for 30 years, Raymond." The words hit me like a thunderclap. My father. Nobody ever talked about him. He died when I was 2, and my mother buried most of his stories with her 3 years ago. But here was this man, Walter, claiming to know me, to know my father, and to know the truth of something I hadn't even realized existed. Walter struggled to his feet, grasping my arm with a surprising strength for a man of 78. "Please, you need to come inside. What I'm about to show you will change everything." I should have walked away. I had 3 more deliveries waiting in my car, pizzas getting cold while the rain soaked through my jacket. But something in his voice, a mixture of desperation, awe, and joy, made me follow him into his house. The living room was a shrine of memory and ambition, walls covered with framed photographs and documents. He pulled down one with shaking hands, revealing 2 young men in hard hats at a construction site. "That's your father and me," he said. The weight of history pressed against my chest. My father, alive in these images, full of hope and purpose. Same dark hair, same strong jaw, same slight crook in the nose. I could see myself reflected in him, decades ago, at a time I never knew existed. "He never mentioned any business to your mother," Walter continued, voice heavy with sorrow, "because we thought we'd failed. The city denied our development permits. Your father died 2 months later, thinking he'd lost everything. But 6 months after his death, they reversed the decision. That worthless swampland we bought became the Riverside Technology Corridor." He shuffled to his desk and pulled out a thick folder, overflowing with documents. "I've been collecting your father's share of the profits for 30 years, searching for you and your mother. She disappeared after his death, but the money kept growing." He opened the folder, revealing a bank statement. The number at the bottom made my vision blur. $823 million. "That's not possible," I whispered, barely able to form the words. "Google built their East Coast hub on Lot 15. Microsoft is on Lot 23. 3 major hospitals, now 47 office buildings, 2 shopping centers, all paying rent to Drummond Grant Developments. Half of it belongs to you." I collapsed onto the Persian rug, the pizza bag spilling across the floor. 6 months ago, I had been a successful logistics manager at Harlow Industries, with a house, a career, and respect. Then my ex-wife Alicia married my billionaire boss, Vincent Harlow, and destroyed my life. False accusations, blacklists, the theft of everything I'd built, my career, my savings, my dignity. And now here I was, staring at proof that I had been worth far more than the man who had crushed me. Walter helped me to a chair, his hands steady despite the tremor in his voice. "There's something else," he said. "Vincent Harlow, your ex-wife's new husband. His corporate headquarters sits on our land, Lot 47. He's been our tenant for 15 years. And I insisted on a clause when we wrote the original contracts. Any tenant who violates ethical business practices can have their lease terminated with 30 days' notice." The world spun. Vincent Harlow rents from us. His empire operates under our terms. I thought of my children. Bethany, struggling to finish nursing school because I couldn't afford tuition anymore. Christopher, offering to loan me money he didn't have, and the humiliation of delivering pizzas to former colleagues, seeing the pity in their eyes. "Mr. Drummond," I said, standing slowly, the fire in my chest returning, "I think it's time Vincent Harlow met his new landlord." Walter smiled, and for the first time in 6 months, hope, real hope, filled me. Not just for revenge or money, but for justice. The man who had destroyed me would soon learn that karma sometimes arrives with a 30-day eviction notice. But let me take you back 6 months before the rain-soaked revelation to the life I thought I had all figured out. I had been climbing the ladder at Harlow Industries for 23 years, from warehouse coordinator to senior logistics manager. My corner office overlooked the Philadelphia skyline. I was proud. I had earned the respect of a team of 42 people, winning Manager of the Year 3 times. My divorce from Felicia had been final for 8 years. Honestly, I was thriving. My kids were flourishing. Sunday dinners with Bethany and Christopher were sacred, not extravagant, but ours. I was happy, content. Dad, you need to start dating again, Bethany would tease over mashed potatoes. You're only 50. That's young these days. I'm focused on work, sweetheart. Besides, after your mother, I think I've had enough excitement for one lifetime. Christopher would laugh. Mom was definitely exciting. Remember the pyramid scheme pitch? We could joke now, remembering Felicia's constant hunger for money, status, more, always more. She had left me for a real estate developer who went bankrupt within 2 years. The last I heard, she was working as a receptionist at a dental office. Then came the company gala in June. Harlow Industries went all out, renting the Four Seasons ballroom, celebrity chefs, lights, music, the whole production. I was standing with my team, actually enjoying myself, when Vincent Harlow appeared with a woman on his arm. Ray, he boomed in that voice that could command a room, I want you to meet my fiancée properly. My blood ran cold. Felicia. Designer gown, diamonds dripping, that predatory smile. Hello, Ray, she purred. It's been too long. Felicia's been telling me about your history together, Vincent said, his hand possessively on her waist. Small world, isn't it? Your ex-wife marrying into the Harlow family. My team froze, champagne glasses midair, eyes wide, jaws tight. I forced a smile, gritting my teeth. Congratulations to you both. Felicia stepped closer. We should have dinner sometime, all of us like adults. I'd love to hear how the kids are doing. Her words were poison dipped in sugar. Kids, as if she had cared all these years. I excused myself and found the balcony. My assistant Janet followed. You okay? That looked rough. Ancient history, I muttered, but she had no idea how right she was. Over the following weeks, Felicia began appearing everywhere at work. Lunches with Vincent, uninvited attendance at meetings, whispering in his ear while shooting me daggers from across the room. Dad, something's wrong, Christopher said during dinner. You look exhausted. Just work stuff, I lied, swallowing the tension. Raymond, you need to document everything, Christopher said. This feels like trouble. I should have listened. My mother's voice echoed in my mind. The world isn't always fair, Raymond, but the truth has a way of finding daylight. Thomas Grant, my father, always saw the good in people, even when there wasn't any. Maybe I had inherited that too much. And then it happened. 72 hours that destroyed everything I thought I had rebuilt. It began with a phone call at 7:30 a.m. on a Monday morning. My career, my reputation, my home, all slipping away faster than I could comprehend. Felicia and Vincent had set a trap, perfectly executed, and I had walked right into it. But fate had other plans. Walter Drummond, the man who had been quietly protecting my father's legacy, had been waiting for the moment to hand it back to the rightful heir. And now, after 30 years of searching, after decades of injustice and loss, I was finally in a position to claim not just what was mine, but justice for everything that had been stolen. I could feel the weight of power returning to my shoulders. Not greed, not vengeance alone, justice, retribution, the chance to rewrite everything. Vincent Harlow, the man who thought he could destroy me and get away with it, was about to learn exactly who owned his empire. And yet, even as I plotted my next steps, a shiver ran down my spine. This wasn't just about contracts or money. It was about exposure, about secrets long buried, about the truth finally breaking through decades of lies. Walter leaned closer, lowering his voice. Raymond, there's something else. Something even they don't know. Something that could change everything. But you're going to need courage and patience. Are you ready for the real story? I nodded, my heart racing, because I knew, whatever came next, nothing would ever be the same. The rain had stopped outside, but inside, a storm was just beginning, and I was standing at the center of it, not as a delivery man, not as a victim, but as the rightful heir to a fortune and a truth that could shatter the empire of those who had wronged me. The first moves had been made. But the game was far from over. And in this story, the most dangerous weapon of all was the truth. The phone call that destroyed my life, the man who had been quietly waiting, the empire that thought itself untouchable, all of it was only the beginning. The next steps would be bigger, bolder, and more dangerous than anything I had ever faced. And as I stared out the window, seeing the city lights reflecting off the wet pavement, I realized one thing: nothing, not fear, not betrayal, not greed, could stop what was coming next. Because sometimes the universe waits decades to deliver justice, and when it does not miss. The phone rang, cutting through the quiet hum of the office like a gunshot. "Raymond, we need you in human resources immediately," the voice said. Carol Patterson, the HR director. And from the tone in her voice, I knew before I even hung up that my day, no, my life, was about to take a turn I couldn't have imagined. The walk to HR felt like a funeral march, each step heavy, echoing in the hallways of a place I had helped build, that I had poured 23 years of my life into. Carol sat behind her desk, flanked by two security guards whose presence made the air feel colder, more accusing. Between us lay a stack of papers, thick and unrelenting, like a wall of accusation. "There's been a serious allegation of theft," Carol began, sliding the documents toward me with that practiced detachment HR directors wield like a weapon. My eyes widened as I read the claim. $2 million of inventory missing from Warehouse 7. My override codes had been used for every single diversion. Every transaction bore my digital signature, every login time-stamped at hours when I was asleep, at home, under the covers. My hands shook as I scrolled through the pages. 47 diversions over 90 days. It was impossible. I hadn't been near Warehouse 7 in months. "This is fabricated," I whispered, my voice trembling. "Check the security cameras. They'll show I wasn't there." Carol's expression didn't flinch. "The cameras malfunctioned during all relevant periods. The backup system also failed. Mr. Harlow wants this handled quietly. Resign now, sign this non-disclosure agreement, and there won't be criminal charges." Criminal charges. For something I didn't do. My stomach turned. I demanded a lawyer. "That's your choice, but Mr. Harlow was hoping to avoid embarrassing your family. Your son Christopher just made partner, didn't he? It would be a shame if McKenna and Associates learned their newest partner's father was a thief." The threat was clear, the poison precise. My choices had shrunk to nothing but the illusion of control. I stood, my chest tightening. I'm not resigning for something I didn't do." "Then you're suspended, effective immediately. Security will escort you out." And so began the longest walk of my life. 42 faces of my team watching, frozen, as security marched me out of the office I had helped grow, a place I had once commanded, a place that now spat me out like trash. Janet was crying at her desk. Dennis from accounting couldn't even meet my eyes. Tuesday arrived, not with mercy, but with devastation. 6 officers at my door, a warrant in hand, tearing through my house. Computers, files, documents, everything I had accumulated, taken as if my life were a crime scene. Mrs. Henderson, my neighbor, watched from her window as they led me away in handcuffs. "Dad, what's happening?" Bethany sobbed over the phone, her voice breaking my heart. "It's a misunderstanding, sweetheart." "Don't worry." By Wednesday, it was painfully obvious there was no misunderstanding. Harlow Industries had sent emails to every major logistics company in the tri-state area, painting me as a thief under investigation. LinkedIn notifications buzzed with people distancing themselves, and years of relationships evaporating in less than a day. 23 years of trust gone in 23 hours. Then came Felicia's text. The dagger disguised as a message. "Enjoy being nobody, Ray. You always were too small for the life I wanted. Vinny sends his regards." I called Christopher. "I need a lawyer who isn't afraid of Vincent Harlow." "I'll represent you myself," he said, his voice firm. "No, you just made partner. I won't let them destroy your career too." The lawyer I hired charged $500 an hour. By week 3, my savings were bleeding. By month 2, the house had slipped into foreclosure. Legal bills devoured everything I had, and we were no closer to proving my innocence. Vincent Harlow had an army of attorneys, burying us in paperwork, using every loophole, every delay tactic. Ray, my lawyer, admitted one night, exhausted. "They've done this before. 3 other executives accused in the same way. None could prove their innocence. He owns the stones, David. You're fighting Goliath, who owns all the stones." I sold everything. House, car, even my father's watch. Christopher tried to give me money, but I refused. Bethany offered to leave school and work, but I would rather die than let her sacrifice her future to Vincent's lies. The only place that didn't care about my past, my ruined career, my broken reputation, Luigi's Pizza. Old school, no background checks, no questions. Show up, work hard, get paid. The humiliation was complete. Delivering pizzas at 50, a man who had once commanded warehouses for $1 billion company, now worrying about gas money, parking my beat up Civic in front of strangers' homes, hoping for a decent tip. My first delivery? Someone from my old department. Second, a neighbor. Third, Felicia's friend, laughing as they handed me a $20 tip, condescending and sharp. Dennis caught me one night at a red light, recognizing the car, the sign. Man, I heard what Harlow did to you. Everyone knows it's bull, but nobody will cross him. He owns half the city. 3 months in, I'd stopped fighting. Pride was a luxury I couldn't afford. I delivered pizzas, lived in a studio that smelled of mildew, avoided people who could remind me of the life I lost, and then the December rain. That night, delivering to 1247 Beacon Hill Drive, driving through the pounding downpour, I thought I had accepted my fate. Nobody. Invisible. Forgotten. The order was simple: large pepperoni, extra cheese, total $23.50. But nothing about that night would be simple. The massive colonial house loomed through the rain, a reminder of the lives of people who had never struggled. I grabbed the insulated bag, braced against the cold, and ran through the storm. Walter Drummond opened the door. He fell to his knees. My heart stopped. At first, I thought he was having a heart attack. Then he spoke. "Thomas Grant, your father." My world tilted. The man who had been searching for me for 30 years, the man who held the key to everything lost and everything waiting, pulled me through the doorway with surprising strength. The living room was a museum of a past I never knew. Black and white photographs lined every wall, framed documents stacked neatly, boxes of papers in the corners like treasure waiting to be uncovered. My pizza bag slipped from my numb fingers as Walter grabbed a photograph from the mantel. "This is your father and me," he said. 1982. The day we incorporated Drummond Grant Developments. 2 young men, hard hats in hand, standing on swampland everyone else deemed worthless, grinning like they'd won the lottery. My father, Tommy, looked exactly like me at 25, down to the slight scar above his left eyebrow. Walter's voice trembled as he recounted the story. Tommy and I met at a construction site in Jersey, both foremen, both dreamers. We spent lunch breaks talking about making it big, building something that mattered. Then the Riverside land came up for auction. 60 acres of swamp. Nobody wanted it. Your father scraped together $50,000, his entire life savings, plus a loan against your parents' house. I matched it. Equal partners, 50-50. Everyone laughed at them. Swampland 30 miles from the city? Impossible. My mother never mentioned it because we thought it failed. The city rejected our permit 6 times. Environmental boards claimed protected wetlands. 2 months later, my father died in a car accident, convinced he'd ruined our lives before I'd even been born. Walter's eyes filled with tears. I went to the funeral. Your mother, 8 months pregnant, completely broken. She screamed at me to get out, never wanted to hear about Tommy's failed dreams again. She moved away after you were born. I hired private investigators, but Dorothy covered her tracks well. Then, 6 months later, everything changed. A new state technology corridor initiative. Swampland became prime real estate overnight. Permits approved. Every contract, lease, decision, I developed it alone. Every dollar, every rent check, collected and held in trust, waiting for the day I could find Tommy's son. Walter showed me leases, bank statements, 30 years of records, Google, Microsoft, 3 hospitals, 47 office buildings, 823 millions. Half of it, my inheritance. And then the crown jewel. Lot 47. Vincent Harlow's signature stared back at me. Harlow Industries had been our anchor tenant for 15 years, operating entirely on my father's land. Walter had inserted a morality clause in every lease. Any tenant convicted of fraud, theft, or unethical business practices could be evicted with 30 days' notice. My fists clenched. Thoughts of Felicia's text, my daughter crying, Christopher offering money I didn't need, 3 months of pizza deliveries, while Vincent Harlow ran his empire from my father's land. "Walter," I said, voice steady for the first time in months. "Introduce me to your lawyers, the best you have." "Already done," he replied. Patricia Norwood from Norwood, Kane and Associates. She's expecting your call. Raymond Grant, the man who survived betrayal, humiliation, and ruin, now had the leverage to shake the foundations of a man who thought he was untouchable. The team confirmed it in a week. Every document, every lease, every clause ironclad. The morality clause could not be disputed, even by Vincent Harlow's army of lawyers. Mr. Grant, Patricia said, adjusting her glasses, voice calm but charged with promise, you don't just own the land under Harlow Industries, you own the leverage to destroy him completely. And just like that, the game had changed. The ground beneath Vincent Harlow was about to shift in ways he could never have imagined. But the story was far from over. Secrets yet untold, moves yet to be made, and a reckoning that would shake the city itself were just beginning. The storm of my past had collided with a storm of opportunity, and nothing, not greed, not lies, not betrayal, would be able to stop what was coming next. The city lights reflected off the wet pavement as I realized the chessboard was set, the pieces in motion, and the first move had just been made. And in the quiet before the storm, I felt it. Something monumental, something unstoppable was about to happen. The truth was coming. And when it hit, everything would change. The rain had stopped, but the tension was just beginning. I was sitting in my beat-up Honda Civic outside Harlow Industries, gripping a folder that contained the power to change everything. 40 stories of glass and steel loomed above me, a monument built on my father's dream, my father's land, yet for years I'd been invisible. The security guard who once waved me through now ignored me completely. But that was about to change. My phone buzzed. Felicia. I let it ring. Her voice, when I finally answered, was tight, almost unrecognizable. Panic barely contained. Vincent's freaking out about some lease issue. His lawyers are saying something about ownership changes. You wouldn't know anything about this, would you? Actually, I would. I watched as Vincent's Bentley rolled into its reserved spot, sleek and arrogant, just like its owner. Calmly, I said, tell Vincent his new landlord wants to discuss his recent business practices. Spare, the meeting is in 20 minutes. What? Are you out of your mind? Felicia shrieked. And Ray, that penthouse you mentioned, the one Vincent bought you last month, built on Drummond Grant land. That's my ground too. Silence. The kind of silence that stretches and tightens around your chest. And then the shriek. That piercing, incredulous, furious sound. I parked, adjusted my tie, and stepped out of the car. No more pizzas, no more hiding. I was walking into the 40th floor of justice itself. My best suit, saved from my old life, was a shield and a statement. The receptionist blinked, confused, until 6 lawyers swept past me like a well-trained storm. We're here for the emergency meeting with Mr. Harlow, Patricia Norwood announced, her voice slicing through the tension like a scalpel. Conference room A. She didn't flinch, didn't hesitate. She knew exactly what this moment meant. The elevator ride felt like ascending into destiny. 40 floors, 40 stories of anticipation, 40 stories above the man who had spent months destroying me, thinking he was untouchable. When we entered the conference room, Vincent Harlow was already there, flanked by 12 lawyers arranged like a defensive wall. Felicia sat beside him, pale under the fluorescent lights, her designer smile faltering. Hello, Vincent, I said, taking my seat at the head of the table. Every eye turned. Every breath held. Thank you for agreeing to meet with your landlord, I continued, calm, controlled. Vincent's face shifted. Confusion, anger, terror. Patricia slid the folder across the table. Ownership documents. Hard evidence. Absolute power resting on a single table. No joke, Mr. Harlow. Mr. Grant inherited 50% of Drummond Grant developments from his father. As of last week, he has assumed full control over lease negotiations for Lot 47. Vincent's voice cracked, enraged. You can't do this. We have a lease which expires in 30 days. I know, I said, calm, measured, and it contains a comprehensive morality clause. Patricia's laptop opened. Her fingers danced over the keyboard. 17 sworn affidavits. Former employees, all victims of Vincent Harlow's orchestrated campaigns of harassment and false accusations. 3 cases perfectly mirrored the playbook he had used against me. Digital signatures, forged, cameras mysteriously malfunctioning, evidence planted. You can't prove anything, he spat. We don't need to, I replied. The morality clause doesn't require conviction, only credible evidence of unethical practices. And that, Mr. Harlow, we have in abundance. I leaned forward, letting the weight of my words fill the room. You have two choices. Option 1, vacate the premises in 30 days. Take your empire and move it elsewhere. Good luck finding 40 floors of specialized infrastructure on short notice. His hands clenched the table, knuckles white. I let the silence stretch, letting him feel the magnitude of the leverage now in my hands. Option 2, I continued, voice steady, unwavering. Publicly clear my name. Pay me $30 million in damages. Sign a lease at triple the current rate, and divorce my ex-wife immediately. Felicia gasped, stepping back, heels clicking against the polished floor. Ray, we can work this out. I never meant for things to go this far. Save it, I said without looking at her. Every ounce of fury, every month of humiliation, every stolen opportunity condensed into those two words. Vincent's attorney whispered urgently in his ear. Color drained from his face as the realization hit him like a brick. His empire, built on my father's land, and I now controlled it. This is extortion, Vincent spat, shaking. No, Patricia corrected him sharply. This is contract law, the same law you wielded to destroy innocent lives. Mr. Grant is being generous. He could evict you today with what we've documented. You are being given a choice. I stood, walking toward the door. Then, turning, I added casually, by the way, Vincent, that text Felicia sent calling me nobody? Thank her for me. Very motivating. He chose to fight, and he lost spectacularly. Within 48 hours, the board convened. Patricia ensured they received every affidavit, every documented case, every shred of evidence exposing Vincent Harlow's history of corporate cruelty. The Philadelphia Inquirer received an anonymous tip. Overnight, the image of Vincent Harlow, brilliant CEO, crumbled. He became the man who destroyed families for sport. The board gave him a final choice: resign quietly or be fired publicly. He chose to slink away. His empire, once untouchable, shattered. His marriage, gone within a week. The woman who had leveraged our battles for her own gain vanished into the cold rain. Felicia sent dozens of desperate texts, each one more frantic than the last. Ray, please. I made a mistake. 20 years. Doesn't that count for something? I'm going to be homeless. Is that what you want? Please, just answer me. I saw her one night at Luigi's, standing in the rain outside the restaurant. The woman who had ruined me now pleaded. Your order will be ready in 15 minutes, ma'am, I said, walking past her to my car. I'm sorry for everything, she cried. I stopped, turned, and looked her straight in the eye. No, Felicia. You're sorry you got caught. You're sorry the money's gone. You're sorry you backed the wrong horse. I accepted her money for the pizza. That was the last time I saw her. 17 former employees Vincent had destroyed each received $2 million from a settlement fund we established. Dennis from accounting, wrongfully terminated years ago, cried when he got the call. Ray, you didn't just save yourself, you saved all of us. Walter Drummond, the grandfather I never had, guided me through the old papers, teaching me about the man I'd never known. Tommy Grant had been more than a dreamer. He had been a man of integrity, a man who believed business could lift communities instead of destroying them. You see, Raymond, Walter said one evening, watching the sunset over the Riverside Technology Corridor, wealth without purpose is just paper. But wealth with purpose, that can change the world. We converted half the corridor into affordable housing for displaced workers. The Thomas Grant Foundation launched with a $100 million endowment, helping families affected by corporate retaliation. In the first year alone, 300 families got back on their feet. Bethany graduated debt-free, honors student, running the medical clinic we built in North Philadelphia, providing free health care to families who couldn't afford insurance. Dad, she said at the ribbon cutting, falling down doesn't define you. Getting up does. Christopher launched his own law firm, defending employees against corporate harassment. Their first case, a janitor falsely accused of theft. We won. The janitor's daughter sent me a hand-drawn thank you card, now next to my father's picture on my desk. My granddaughter, Dorothy, will grow up in a world where her family name means something, not because of wealth, but because we chose to use it for good. Standing in my father's old office, now mine, Walter placed his hand on my shoulder. Tommy would be proud. You didn't just reclaim wealth. You reclaimed a dream, a vision of business that serves, not destroys. I looked at the photo of my father, young and hopeful, standing in front of swampland that everyone mocked. He died thinking he had failed, but he hadn't. He had built an empire with integrity, a vision, and rules that demanded ethical behavior. The best revenge wasn't money. It wasn't power. It wasn't Felicia's desperate texts. The best revenge was purpose. I sent Felicia a photo on what would have been her first wedding anniversary with Vincent, me handing keys to a young single mother, a victim of corporate retaliation, moving into her new apartment in our affordable housing complex. The message read, "This is what being somebody looks like." She never responded, but I didn't need her approval. I had learned the most important lesson of all. Sometimes being nobody is just the universe's way of preparing you to become somebody who matters. Sometimes the ground beneath your feet isn't pulling you down, it's lifting you up. My father left me more than money. He left me purpose. And that, I realized, was worth more than $800 million could ever buy. The storm of injustice had passed, and what emerged from the rain was unstoppable.